Daisy Brooks looking very fine this evening, don't you think?
Just the kill, dear boy. And I wouldn't mind betting I could give you the name of her next victim. Look. You eat too many of those snails.
No.
Sir.
Lady Brooke. I'm glad you were able to come, my dear Daisy. Looking very lovely tonight.
Thank you, sir. But I must speak to you alone. Could we possibly...
Yes, of course. Now then, what's the matter?
I'm afraid something too silly has happened. It's all the result of a past liaison. I'm afraid I behaved rather foolishly and... Well, I need your help, sir.
Well, you shall have it, my dear. Look, we can't very well leave the party now. The dancing's just beginning. Come to me a little later when things have got going a bit, and we'll find somewhere we can talk privately.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
A bit, my dear Daisy. I look forward to it.
Lady Brooke. Look, she's over there with Sir William Gordon Cumming.
She dances well.
It's no good. I've tried to like her, but I can't. She's too sharp for me. Say you don't like her, Oliver. Go on, say it, just to please me.
I detest her.
You didn't tell me that woman was going to be here.
I didn't know, my dear.
She dances as though she thought everyone in the room was looking at her.
Perhaps they are.
That pompous ass, Gordon Cumming. What on earth is she doing with him?
Well, she has to dance with somebody. I dare say she'd prefer the Prince of Wales, but he's rather given it up lately.
I say, Christopher, what's the matter with Charlie Beresford and his wife?
I've no idea, sir.
She looked as though someone had trodden on her toe.
One of the hazards of dancing, sir.
So Lady Brooke's after the Prince of Wales, is she?
So they say.
I wish her joy of it.
I'm sure she'd be grateful.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you, Ma.
It gets so hot in there. I felt stifled.
Are you all right, Ma'am?
Yes, perfectly. It's beginning again, isn't it? Only this time it's Lady Brooke.
I'm quite sure that
No,
His Royal
Oliver,
Highness...
don't say anything. I couldn't bear it if I felt you were lying to me.
Never, Ma'am.
Oh, my dear, I'm sorry. I'm in a silly mood this evening. Please forgive me.
You have nothing to fear, Ma'am. I think you know that.
Have I not? I sometimes wonder. No, you're right. Of course you're right. I've nothing to fear. He loves me best. I believe that. It's just that... Do you think she's pretty?
Lady Brooke? Tolerably pretty, I'd say.
She is, isn't she? They've always been pretty. Mrs. Langtry, that dreadful chamber pots woman. Am I pretty too, I wonder? Am I pretty, Oliver? I want the truth, mind. Am I as pretty as Lady Brooke?
You're beautiful, Ma'am. It's far above prettiness.
Oliver, do you think so? Do you really think so?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear. Let's go back to the party. What are they playing? Can you hear?
Sounds like a polka, Ma'am.
A polka? Good. Suddenly I feel like a polka. Come. You see, sir, it's rather a delicate matter. I hardly know where to begin.
Well, my dear Daisy, anything you say will be treated with the strictest confidence. And, of course, if there's anything I can do to help, you have only to ask.
Thank you, sir. You are kind.
I'm afraid so much of what has happened is my own fault. I should never have written the letter.
The letter?
Oh, dear. This is all very distressing.
Oh, please.
Thank you. I think you know, sir, that for some time, Lord Charles Beresford and I... Well, for a little while, Lord Charles was my lover.
Yes, I believe I did know something about it, yes.
It's all over now. Has been for some time. But when we decided to end it, I'm afraid I wrote him rather a foolish letter. I was upset at the time, you see.
Well, of course, of course.
Oh, it is good of you to listen to me like this.
Go on, my dear.
Well, somehow his wife found the letter, I don't know how, and she's given it to her solicitor who is to keep it for her. Oh, I'm so afraid she will use it against me. I don't know what to do.
I see. Well, I begin to understand why Lord Charles and his wife seemed a little out of sorts earlier this evening.
It's the first time I've seen either of them since... Well, since...
Yes. Who is her solicitor?
Oh, I think it's George Lewis. Oh, sir, if there's anything you could do. You see, if I could get the letter back, I could destroy it, then no one would ever know. I wondered whether to approach Mr. Lewis myself. But I'm afraid I'm not very good at knowing what to do.
Don't distress yourself, my dear. These things happen from time to time. Would you like me to talk to Lewis and see if I can get hold of the letter for you?
Oh, sir, would you? I hardly like to ask, but if you felt you could, I'm sure that would be the best thing.
Well, I'll certainly do what I can. On one condition, that is.
Yes?
That you let me see you smile. You weren't meant to be sad, I think.
Oh, you are kind, sir. I hardly know how to thank you.
Well, Eddie, this is all in your honor. How will you like being Duke of Clarence?
I expect I shall like it well enough, Mamma.
It's good to have you home again. I miss you so much when you go away, you and Georgie. Of course, the girls are a great comfort to me. Now that Louise is married, she spends most of her time in Scotland. It'll be your turn next.
My turn to what, Mamma?
To get married, you silly boy. You're second in line of succession.
No, not yet, Mamma. Please, not yet.
Why, ever not? You're 26. Your father was only 22 when we got married. Life's not all parties and dancing, you know.
Isn't it, Mamma?
Lady Brooke has told me of the existence of a certain letter which she wrote to Lord Charles Beresford, and which is now, I understand, in your keeping.
Well, that is so, sir.
I should like to see it, if I may.
Oh, certainly, sir.
Thank you. Destroy it.
I beg your pardon, sir.
I'm asking you to destroy it.
Well, I'm very sorry, sir, but I'm afraid I can't do that.
Why not?
Well, it would be unethical. The letter's not mine to destroy. Well, I couldn't take any action without the consent of my client, Lady Charles.
But the letter's not hers. It's not addressed to her.
It has come into her possession.
Well, I dare say, but surely it belongs more properly to the lady who wrote it.
I'm afraid not, sir. The letter is legally the property of the recipient. And if he chooses to allow his wife to have
Oh,
it...
damn foolishness. Am I to understand, then, Mr. Lewis, that you refuse to do as I ask?
I'm very sorry, sir, but I'm afraid I have no alternative.
I see.
Well, there is, however, one thing I can do, sir.
Indeed?
Yes. I can advise Lady Charles that it would be, perhaps, in her best interests to destroy the letter.
Yes. Yes, that's good.
Well, I can't, of course, promise that she'll take my advice, but I shall do my best.
Yes, well, I should like to be able to tell Lady Brooke that every effort was being made.
Of course, sir.
Good. Thank you for your time, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Georgie, I feel terrible. Was I very drunk last night?
Yes.
I can remember Mamma telling me I must get married, and after that, I don't seem to have much recollection of what happened. I do hope I didn't embarrass you.
No? You made a fool of yourself over Lady Erskine.
Did I?
But she didn't seem to mind.
She's a pretty girl, don't you think?
I suppose so.
I suppose so. Oh, Georgie, when are you going to let yourself go and have a bit of fun?
I don't know what you mean by a bit of fun.
Don't you? Come with me one night, I'll show you. I suppose I'm a bad example to you, eh?
Of course not.
Well, that's what they all think, you know. That's why there's this sudden rush to make me get married.
Well, you'll have to get married one day.
I know, and it's a bore, isn't it? The question is who?
Well, I thought you were keen on Cousin Alexander of Hesse.
It's Alecky. It's no good, dear boy. She won't have me. She's going to marry young Nicholas. And I can't help it if she'd rather be Tsarina of Russia than Queen of England.
What? I'm sure it's not that.
No? And Grandmama wants me to marry Princess Margaret of Prussia.
Oh, what's the matter with her?
Oh, she's hideous. I mean, I'll find someone if only they'd leave me alone. Mama's on my side anyway. She doesn't want me to marry a German princess.
Well, who else is there?
I don't know. The Comte de Paris has a daughter, Hélène. And they say she's beautiful.
She's a Roman Catholic.
Yes, there is that. Oh, well, if there aren't any suitable princesses, then they won't be able to make me get married, will they?
You should never have let him see the letter. Good God, it's none of his business. What was he doing here in the first place, interfering in other people's affairs? I should have thought he had enough to do to keep his own indiscretions out of the public eye. How dare he concern himself with mine?
I believe Lady Brooke asked him to see me.
That is no excuse. I still don't understand why you showed him the letter.
I was commanded, Lord Charles. His Royal Highness put me in a most awkward position.
Do you know he has twice called upon my wife and demanded that she either give up the letter or allow it to be destroyed?
I think His Royal Highness is anxious to spare Lady Brooke any possible embarrassment.
I dare say, but the matter is none of his business. I will not have the Prince of Wales involving himself in my private affairs.
I'm very sorry, Lord Charles, but I really don't see how you can stop him.
Don't you? Well, we'll see about that. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I take it you still have Lady Brooke's letter?
Of course.
Good. Then see to it that it remains in your possession. And for God's sake, don't show it to anyone else. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Lord Charles Beresford, sir. Charlie, it's good to see you. Come and sit down, my dear fellow. When do you leave for the Mediterranean?
I would rather stand, sir. What I have to say is best said standing up.
Now, that sounds very formal. What's the matter?
I demand an explanation, sir.
Demand?
You interfered in my private affairs, sir. I want to know why.
Now, look, Charles, can't we discuss this sensibly?
You had no right to read Lady Brooke's letter. Lewis should never have shown it to you.
Now, look here,
No,
Charles.
you listen to me. I don't know much about the ethics of the thing, but it's pretty vile behavior by any standards to use your position to force a man to betray the principles of his profession.
Look, before you go any
and
further,
that's not all. Having failed with Lewis, you then threatened to ruin my wife's social...
I did no such thing.
Did you or did you not imply that unless she agreed to give up the letter, she might not be invited to Marlborough House?
Well, I may have said something to that effect,
Exactly!
but I really...
And we both know what that would mean. There is not a house in the land to which she could expect to be asked.
Charles, I think you'd better leave before I lose my
Of course, I don't know how Lady Brooke managed to persuade you to go to such lengths on her behalf.
How dare you, sir? Do you know who you're talking to?
I most certainly do!
Francis, show Lord Beresford out.
You, sir, are a coward! A coward and a blackguard!
And you, sir, are a buffoon.
What?
I should advise you not to strike me. Well, well, well. Foolish fellow. I think he very nearly hit me, Francis.
I think he very nearly did, sir.
Well, the good thing he's going back to the Mediterranean. Give him a chance to cool off.
Yes, sir. You recall the name of his ship,
No?
I believe it's called the Undaunted, sir.
Is it? Is it indeed?
What on earth is the matter? I passed Lord Charles in the corridor. He barely acknowledged me and rushed out without a word.
I expect he was in a hurry, my dear.
There was more to it than that. Have you two been quarreling?
No. Just a difference of opinion, that's all. But it might be as well if you didn't invite Lady Beresford to Marlborough House for a while. He'll be abroad in any case.
Oh, very well. But what has happened?
Nothing, my dear. Nothing for you to bother your beautiful head about. Now, what news of my eldest daughter? When can I expect to become a grandfather?
Oh, not for months yet. Not until next May. I'm going to stay with Louise in a week or two. They're up in Scotland. Why don't you come? She'd love to see you.
Oh, well, no, my dear. I'm afraid I can't. I shall be going up to Doncaster for St. Leger week. Staying with some new people, Arthur Wilson and his wife. A place called Tranby Croft.
I understand she put small bits of soap among the real pieces of cheese and took a great delight in watching the faces of her guests as they bit into the soap.
I dare say most of them were too damn polite to draw attention to her there.
Absolutely. It was the old Duchess of Marlborough, that's who it was.
I do hope your wife won't feel constrained to follow the Duchess's example.
I think not.
The same lady once tied an ink pot over the door, which emptied itself over her husband's head.
Damned amusing. Well, it's a really that sort of thing's rather gone out nowadays.
Oh, I don't know, Christopher. I seem to remember an occasion recently when you got rather wet.
What was an honour, sir?
What happened?
Well, His Royal Highness was good enough to pour a decanter of brandy over my head. Very amusing. Were you expecting it? No, but I recall the occasion with great pleasure.
Watch this. It's his party piece. I suppose it might have been funny once. I doubt it.
Well, shall we join the ladies?
Yes, sir, certainly, sir. My wife and I are most honoured by your presence here at Tranmere Coffee.
No, a bit delighted, my dear fellow.
I'm only sorry that Lady Brooke was unable to join our party. We did ask her most particularly.
Damn nuisance. Her uncle died. She had to go to Scotland.
Oh, most unfortunate.
What now? Cards, I suppose?
Yes, he wants to play baccarat and brought his own counters.
It's illegal, isn't it, baccarat?
Yes, but somehow I don't think that bothers him very much.
I cannot pretend that this is not something of a surprise. I had no idea that things had got so far, Eddie.
I only proposed to Helene this morning, Grandmamma.
Indeed. Well, you did right to come to me at once. And you really love this naughty boy of ours?
I do, Mum.
And he loves you, I think.
He does, Mum. I know he does.
That is just as it should be. Your grandfather and I married for love. I do not approve of these things being arranged for purely political purposes. You may sit.
Thank you, Mum.
There will be difficulties. You will have to change your religion, my dear. It is against our constitution for a prince in line of succession to marry a Roman Catholic.
I am willing to do that, Mum.
Of course. Have you spoken to your father about it yet?
Not yet.
Well, I should advise you to do so as soon as possible. The Comte de Paris is a very religious man.
If my father will not agree, I shall appeal to the Pope.
Yes. Well, we must hope that won't be necessary. Your father cannot be unaware that you are marrying the potential heir to the British throne.
No, Mum.
So we have your consent, do we, Grandmamma?
Yes, Eddie. You have my consent. My consent and my blessing.
Card, Owen?
Card, sir.
Card?
No, sir.
Well,
let's go into the hall.
Yes, well, you always had one again. There you are, sir.
Did you see him?
Yes. I can't believe it.
And it was the same last night.
Lieutenant Colonel Sir William Gordon Cumming cheating at cards. It's scarcely credible.
Well, what's to be done?
I don't know. I just don't know.
It's damned awkward. He's a guest in our house.
Who else have you told?
My father, my sister, and her husband.
What did Lycett Green say?
He thinks we should tell Lord Coventry. But we all agreed to watch him this evening to see if he tried it again.
Card?
No, sir.
Card, Mrs. Wilson? Ah.
That's how it
Thank you.
I beg your pardon, sir. There is another tenner here you've forgotten.
Well, we should keep your stakes in a more conspicuous place. Give him another tenner, will you, Owen?
Would your Royal Highness care for a little supper?
Yes, good idea, Mrs. Wilson. Thank you.
I've had a little supper laid in the dining room.
Lord Coventry, I wonder if I might have a word with you, sir, and General Williams.
Yes, of course.
What is his agreement?
Something rather awful has happened, sir. My wife, Captain Levitt, Arthur here, and myself have all separately witnessed a member of our party cheating.
Good God.
Who is it?
Lieutenant Colonel Sir William Gordon Cumming, sir.
Gordon Cumming?
Are you certain?
Absolutely, sir.
I first noticed it last night, sir. He had bet a £5 counter and was sitting with his hands clasped over it like this. I saw him lean over to see what card Lord Edward Somerset had,
And when I did the same, I noticed something red in the palm of his hand. Lord Edward had a natural, and immediately Sir William saw this, he opened his hands and let 3 more £5 counters drop onto the table.
I saw him do the same thing tonight, sir. It's unbelievable. You mean to tell me you saw Sir William increase his stake after the cards had been dealt?
Yes, and I also saw him withdraw his hands when the cards were bad and allow some counters to fall back into his pile.
Did anyone else see these incidents?
Captain Levitt saw those which occurred this evening.
So did my wife and I.
This is an extremely serious accusation. You realize that?
Yes, I do, sir.
Oh, why did you not mention this last night, if that was when it first happened?
I wanted to make sure, sir. That is why I told Levitt here, my father, and Mr. and Mrs. Lycett Green.
I see.
What's to be done, sir?
Damned if I know.
There's only one thing to do. We must confront Sir William with the accusation and the evidence against him. It might be better if General Williams and I saw him alone. What do you say, General?
Yes, I suppose so. You know, I simply can't believe it.
Perhaps you would ask Sir William to join us here, Levitt.
Certainly, sir.
You had better wait in the next room, and Mr. and Mrs. Green. Thank you, Wilson.
Of course. I'm sorry to have brought all this up, but I didn't think I could let it pass in the circumstances. The man was taking money off His Royal Highness by fraud.
You have behaved perfectly correctly, Mr. Wilson. Now, if you wouldn't mind. What a damnable thing.
Do you think it's true?
5 people independently see a man cheating. It must be true, General. I'm sorry, I know Sir William is a friend of yours.
He's a friend of the Prince of Wales, too.
Yes.
Incredible, quite incredible. Man's an officer and a gentleman.
Ah, Sir William.
Gentlemen?
Come in, come in. A very unpleasant thing has occurred. Some people have objected to your manner of playing baccarat.
Good heavens! What do you mean?
Yes, it is the case, I'm afraid. Certain persons in this house have suggested that you caused a foul play at cards. What have you to say?
Well, I deny it. I deny it, absolutely.
I'm afraid no less than 5 people all say that they have seen you playing in an irregular manner.
Well, it's not true. Oh, God. Oh, it's terrible. What do you advise me to do?
Do you admit the charge?
No, but if this were ever to get out, I must see His Royal Highness. Does he know about it?
Not yet, but he will have to be told.
I must see him at once. I can't think how. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. I have asked for an interview with Your Royal Highness, as I have heard that certain persons have made a foul and abominable charge against me, and I have to deny emphatically that I've done anything of the kind insinuated.
What can you do? There are 5 accusers against you.
My first impulse is to publicly insult these 5 people on the first occasion I meet them, if necessary on the race course tomorrow.
What's the use of their 5 to 1?
But something must be done.
Sir William, I think you should know that we have thoroughly checked the accusation, and I'm afraid the evidence against you is overwhelming. To save unpleasantness, however, General Williams and I have prepared a paper which we would like you to sign. I will read it to you. In consideration of the promise made by the gentlemen whose names are here subscribed, to preserve silence with reference to an accusation made in regard to my conduct of baccarat on the nights of Monday and Tuesday, 8th and 9th of September, 1890, at Tranby Croft, I will, on my part, solemnly undertake never to play cards again as long as I live.
But this would be tantamount to an admission of guilt.
It's the only way to avoid a scandal, my dear fellow. If you don't sign, the story will be all over the racecourse tomorrow. We are thinking of you, William.
If you sign that paper, everyone who knows about the matter will give his word of honor to maintain absolute secrecy.
I have no alternative, I see. Thank you, Your Royal Highness.
Better ask the others to come in.
second time. The second time Eddie has been prevented from marrying the princess of his choice. First, Alec wouldn't have him. Now they tell us it is constitutionally impossible for him to marry Helene. It's too unfair, it really is. The poor boy is heartbroken.
I don't think the poor boy's quite as heartbroken as you make out, my dear.
What do you mean?
But he seems perfectly heart-whole to me. What about this Lady Erskine he's taking round at the moment?
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but I'm afraid there isn't much we can do about it.
I'm sorry?
Well, if neither her father nor the Pope will allow her to change her religion, then as far as Princess Helene is concerned, that, I'm afraid, is that. Come in, Francis.
I'm sorry to trouble you, sir. Might I have a word?
Well, yes, of course. What is it?
I thought you should know, sir, there's increasing talk about what happened last month when you were staying at Tranby Croft.
Indeed?
The rumors are, sir, that you were engaged in an illegal card game and that one of your party was accused of cheating, sir.
Bertie, what is this?
Nothing, my dear. Are you sure about this, Francis?
I'm afraid so, yes, sir.
Damn! I wish to God people had learned to keep their mouths shut. Excuse me, my dear. Come, Francis. We must put a stop to this before it goes any further.
But I don't understand, Prime Minister. You say this man, Gordon Cumming, is bringing an action against the people who accused him of cheating.
Yes, ma'am. He maintains it is the only way he has left to him to clear his name, now that the story has got out.
But, my dear Lord Salisbury, the Prince of Wales has told me that the people who took part in this wretched game signed some sort of paper promising to keep quiet about what happened. He even signed it himself.
Yes, ma'am, that is the case. Unfortunately, the secret has not been kept.
Is there nothing we can do to prevent the case coming to court?
We have tried, ma'am, but I'm afraid it is not possible.
Disgraceful. It is all so lowering, so humiliating, and so bad for the country. Well, there is only one thing to be done. Bertie must go away somewhere. And I hope you will see to it that his name is mentioned as little as possible.
But I cannot do that, ma'am. Nor will it be possible for His Royal Highness to go away at present. He is to be called as a witness for the defence.
Furthermore, I would suggest, my lord, that previous instances have been known of men of courage and dignity, who were prepared to sacrifice themselves to support a tottering throne or prop up a falling dynasty. It is my contention, it is my belief, my lord, that at Tranby Croft on September the 9th, Sir William Gordon Cumming was victimized to save the honor of a prince who encouraged habitually an illegal game, who had jumped recklessly to a wrong conclusion on bad evidence, and who had ignored deliberately Article 41 of Queen's Regulations for the Army, which lay upon all serving officers, including, I submit, Field Marshal His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, the duty of requiring any brother officer accused of dishonourable conduct to submit his case forthwith to his commanding officer.
A tottering throne, Lord Salisbury. Sir Edward Clarke actually used the phrase, a tottering throne.
Yes, I'm afraid, ma'am, he seems to have felt it necessary to use strong words in defence of his client.
Strong words, indeed. I'm very glad this Gordon Cumming lost the case.
Yes, there is at least that. Sir William has been dismissed from the army, and I expect society has seen the last of him.
I dare say. I am more concerned with the dreadful publicity there has been. You have seen the Times, I suppose.
I have, ma'am.
Listen to this. If the Prince of Wales is known to frequent certain circles, if he is known to pursue on his private visits a certain round of questionable pleasures, the serious public, who after all are the backbone of England, regret and resent it.
I'm afraid that is a fairly accurate representation of the feeling in the country, ma'am.
Yes. Well, I have asked the Prince to write a letter for publication to the Archbishop of Canterbury condemning gambling. Thank you. I think, in the circumstances, it is the least he can do. I understand the leader of the opposition approves the idea.
Mr. Gladstone has spoken to His Royal Highness, I believe.
Good. For once, Mr. Gladstone and I are agreed.
I am not, however, ma'am, very hopeful that he will write the letter.
Why not?
I think he feels, ma'am, that it would be hypocritical.
Nonsense. He must write the letter. He shall write the letter.
No, I cannot and will not write the letter. It would be the worst kind of hypocrisy.
I understand your Royal Highness's position, but the public...
Damn the public. I'm sorry, William, but I am tired of being misrepresented. Now, I abhor gambling. I always have. But it would be as absurd to describe as gambling a harmless game of baccarat played by rich men for stakes they can comfortably afford, as it would be to describe as intemperance a glass or two of champagne at dinner.
It's a question of degree.
Well, exactly.
Yes, it's a nice point, and one not readily understood, I'm afraid. Well, I must leave you. Good morning, sir.
I'm sorry, William.
And Her Majesty and I on the same side for once. I was afraid it might be too good to last.
A great man, Francis. A very great man.
Yes, sir.
I'll see Lord Rosebery now. Ah, Archie, come in. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Well, I hope whatever you have to tell me is good news. I've had more than enough of the other kind.
No, I'm afraid not, sir.
Oh. Well?
Well, the Prime Minister has received an extraordinary, and I'm bound to say somewhat hysterical letter from Lady Beresford. She and her husband are threatening to make public their quarrel with Your Royal Highness over the Lady Brooke letter.
Oh, good Lord. Why? I thought that matter was forgotten about.
It appears not. I believe Lady Beresford has been much distressed by her exclusion from court.
Charles is still with his ship, isn't he?
Well, Lord Charles Beresford has asked for home leave, sir.
Oh, this is too much. What do they want me to do?
I understand they're demanding an apology and an undertaking that you will receive, Lady Beresford.
It is out of the question. How dare they attempt to blackmail me in this way? It's outrageous.
It is, sir, but Lord Charles feels that as they're already social outcasts, they have nothing to lose. He says he'll make public various matters concerning Your Royal Highness and Lady Brooke.
What?
Yes, sir, I'm afraid it's as bad as that. The trouble is that coming so swiftly on the heels of the Tranby Croft business, the publicity would be particularly harmful.
Yes. Does my wife know about this?
I'm afraid she insisted, sir. I was with her while you were talking to Mr. Gladstone.
Thank you, Archie. Alex, my dear.
No, Bertie.
I'm sorry, my dear. It's all a stupid misunderstanding, you know.
I'd rather not talk about it.
May I not explain to you?
Lady Brooke. Will you explain Lady Brooke to me, Bertie?
The whole episode is in the past, my dear.
Yes, I dare say the letter is in the past. But there are some things that are not in the past.
My dear Alex,
you
there really is...
see her, don't you?
From time to time, yes. I thought you understood.
Oh, yes, I understood. I understood, and I waited, thinking that one day it would end. But it doesn't end, Bertie. It goes on. Mrs. Langtry, that American woman, and now Lady Brooke.
I find her amusing.
Yes, and I am not amusing, because I am deaf and I find it hard to follow what people say.
Oh, Alex, please.
No, Bertie, don't say anything, please. We shall only hurt each other. I'm going now. We shall see each other at dinner, perhaps.
Yes. Yes, of course. Well, my dear?
She's a good, sensible girl. I dare say she'll make him a fine wife.
German princess, though.
She's as English as we are. Eddie must marry and settle down. There have been far too many young women.
She's a pretty creature, isn't she?
Who, dear boy?
Princess Maeve Tech.
I should have thought homely was a more accurate description.
And the prince seemed rather taken with her.
I find that rather surprising. Like his father, he always had an eye for beautiful women. By the by, Daisy Brooke not with us this weekend?
No, I don't think she's often asked to Sandringham.
What about that trouble with Charlie Beresford and his wife?
Oh, still not settled, I'm afraid. Salisbury's doing his best, but I think the old boy's a bit out of his depth.
Might I have a word, sir?
Yes, of course, Prime Minister. Shall we go outside? Excuse me, my dear.
him.
May I have the pleasure, ma'am?
Thank you, Oliver.
I'm sorry to take your Royal Highness away from the party.
That's perfectly all right, my dear fellow. My dancing days are long since over.
I've had another meeting with Lord Charles and Lady Beresford.
Windbag and ragbag.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Lord Charles and Lady B, that's what they're called. Well?
I'm afraid they're still determined to publish.
Now, I can't think what's got into Charlie. He and I were close friends, you know.
Yes. I'm afraid the situation is now very grave indeed. Lord Charles is making arrangements to invite the press to his house in Eaton Square. He intends to give them his own version of the Lady Brooke affair.
Good God.
There is, I think, only one way of stopping him. Your Royal Highness must go some way towards meeting his demand.
That's impossible.
I'm sorry, sir, but I can see no alternative. With the Tranby Croft business still fresh in the public mind, any further scandal could precipitate a national crisis. It gives me no pleasure, sir, to have to tell you this, but I'm afraid it is the case.
Well, what do you want me to do?
What's the matter with our young prince? Doesn't look too well, does he?
Eddie, darling, are you feeling unwell?
No, Mamma, I'm perfectly all right. Don't fuss.
You look dreadful. He doesn't look at all well, does he, May?
Why don't you go and lie down, Eddie? It's probably only a cold, but it's stupid to dance if you're feeling ill.
Look, I feel perfectly all right, I tell you. Come on, May, let's dance. Excuse us, Mamma.
I appeal to you, Lord Charles, as a gentleman and a man of honor. No good can come of what you're proposing to do. No good to His Royal Highness, to the country, and indeed, least of all, to you and your wife.
My wife and I are planning to live abroad in future.
I was thinking more of your good name and your career in the Navy.
I'm prepared to make that sacrifice.
I dare say. But let's be reasonable, shall we? I will arrange for a formal exchange of letters between you and the Prince of Wales.
And the exclusion from court of Lady Brooke.
And the exclusion from court of Lady Brooke.
I want an apology, you understand? A formal apology.
I shall write it myself. His Royal Highness has already agreed to sign. Will that satisfy you?
Thank you, Prime Minister. In that case, I shall not be meeting the gentlemen of the press tomorrow morning. When may I expect to hear from His Royal Highness?
Good God, man, give me a little time. In a day or two, I expect.
That will do very nicely. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Lord Charles.
Thank heaven that's over. Squalid business. A lot of fuss about nothing, to my way of thinking.
A woman's vanity, Prime Minister.
What's the matter, Eddie?
Nothing. I got a bit of a headache, that's all.
You shouldn't have come out.
Nonsense, I'm all right.
I'm shivering.
I feel pretty awful, Georgie. Help me, would you?
Come on, let's get you back to the house.
I think he's breathing a little more easily now.
Will you come with me, please?
Something too awful has happened. My darling brother Georgie is dead. Who's that? Who's that?
And as born of a woman hath but a short time to live in this world of misery. Cometh up and is cut down. He fleeth as it were a shadow and continually on the stay in the midst of death, in the midst of life.
Well, Bertie, these last 2 years have not been kind. I expect you're glad they're over.
Yes, Mamma.
I don't know how much you were to blame for the Tranby Croft affair, although, of course, you should not have signed that paper.
No, Mamma.
And then that nonsense over Lady Brooke's letter. Oh, I sometimes think you are not as careful as you might be in your choice of friends. However, it's all in the past, and we won't speak of it anymore. Now, how is Alex and dear George? I'm afraid she grieves too much over poor Eddie's death. You must not let her become a recluse, you know.
Yes, she's still very much upset, I'm afraid. And, of course, Oliver Montague's dying out in Egypt hasn't helped matters.
No. Oh, that was sad. He was a good man. However, we must all learn to accept the inevitable. It is hard sometimes. I know. Very hard. But if it is God's will.
Yes, Mamma.
And so my dear little Georgie will be king one day.
Yes, I think he still finds it very hard to accept.
Well, of course. But you must help him, Bertie. It cannot be long now before it will be your turn. And
Oh,
then there will
please,
not-
Mamma.
No. I hope this is the last change of government I shall have to face. You have heard Lord Salisbury has resigned.
Yes.
They say the Liberals are certain to win the election, and you know what that will mean.
Yes, Mamma.
I will not send for him, Bertie. I won't send for him.
Mr. Gladstone's been a great Prime Minister, Mamma.
He's a wicked old man. And for the 4th time. No, Bertie. It is too much to ask. You and I, Mr. Gladstone, are lamer than we used to be.
Congratulations, my dear William. I'm delighted for you.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
I hadn't expected to be called again, but there are still 1 or 2 things I want to do before I go.
For you, there'll always be 1 or 2 things.
Perhaps. And now, sir, this commission on the aged poor, you will, sir, won't you?
Yes, of course, I shall be glad to.
Good, good.
And I'm most grateful to you, Prime Minister.
Oh.
I like to feel useful. Don't get much opportunity, of course, but, well, there, we've been through all that before, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And I should like to say that I consider the misuse of your Royal Highness's talents as one of the great tragedies of our time. If the Queen could be persuaded to abdicate in your favor, it would be for the good of the country. I mean, no disrespect to Her Majesty.
No, of course I understand. No, my time will come. We must just be patient, that's all.
I wonder if I shall see it. Well. Oh, there is one other thing, sir.
Yes?
Having a little difficulty persuading Rosebery to take the Foreign Office. His wife died recently, you know. I wonder if a word from you, sir.
Yes, certainly. Shall we go down?
Yeah. Oh.
There, you know, William, for the first time, I begin to understand how grief can isolate a man. Since my son died, I've often felt like giving up all this and going to live quietly down at Sandringham with Alex.
It's an odd thing, sir. At first, as you know, I didn't want it. But you persuaded me, and now, well, I think work has been my salvation.
I think the Prime Minister felt he needed you, Archie.
Oh, he put you up to it, did he, the old devil?
Well, yes, he did, as a matter of fact. But I expect I should have tried to talk you around in any case. The Foreign Office is the most important of all the ministries. It's essential to have a good man there.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness.
Come in, Francis.
Excuse me, sir. Lord Rosebery asked me to bring this to him.
Thank you, Knowles. If you would like to open it, sir.
Well, what is it?
It was made for your father, sir. It's the key to the Foreign Office dispatch boxes. I know it's not been the practice of previous ministers, but I should like you to have it.
Thank you, Archie. Thank you.
Come in. Ah, Lord Rosebery.
Forgive me for intruding, ma'am, but I wanted to say goodbye to you before returning to London.
You're going back tonight?
I must.
Dear Lord Rosebery, I cannot thank you enough for what you've done for the Prince. I think you know foreign affairs has always been his passion.
His Royal Highness has a great contribution to make.
And yet until now he has not even been allowed to see dispatches.
Well, I'm pleased to be able to put that right.
Thank you. This was Eddie's room.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel very close to him when I'm here. Can you understand that?
I can.
Of course, we are fellow sufferers. Your wife. You must miss her terribly.
I do, ma'am, but... Well, may I say something?
Please?
When she died, my first instinct was to hide, to shut myself away, to be alone with my grief.
Oh, yes, I can understand that so well.
It was for that reason that I refused the Foreign Office when Gladstone first offered it to me.
I know, I know.
I think now that I was wrong.
Wrong?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, forgive me, I make no comparison of what we have both suffered. But I came to feel that perhaps my duty to the living was more important than my need to mourn the dead. Oh, ma'am, you have my deepest sympathy, believe me. Nothing, after all, can recall the past. But it should be a shrine to which we return at times, not a cell in which we live.
Go on.
Oh, and I've said too much. But you are greatly loved, ma'am. May I hope that the knowledge of the affection in which you are held by the people of this country will persuade you to come among us once again.
Thank you, Lord Rosebery. I will think about what you have said.
I think, Francis, you'd better cancel my arrangements to go to the south of France.
Yes, sir.
It looks as though this commission on the aged poor will be sitting, and I don't want to miss any of the meetings.
Very well, sir.
Ah, Alex, my dear. Thank you, Francis. I think that's all for the present.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, were you busy?
No, my darling. You've changed.
Yes. It's almost a year now. That's long enough, I think.
I'm glad.
I had such a lovely talk with Lord Rosebery before he went. What a good man he is.
Yes.
Where are Georgie and the girls?
They went out for a walk before dinner. It's a beautiful evening.
I'm glad that May has stayed here with us. She's almost like one of the family now.
Yes. Alex, my darling, do you know what they're saying in the country?
No.
Well, Francis tells me that everyone now seems to think that May will marry George.
What?
Well, yes, it is a bit soon, I know.
But that's impossible. May was Eddie's fiancée. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be fair. In any case, the Queen would never allow it.
Well, I believe Mamma's already spoken. Apparently, she feels in the circumstances it's almost George's duty.
I see.
And after all, there is a precedent in your own family, my dear. Your sister Minnie was first engaged to the Grand Duke Nicholas. It was only after his death that she married Sasha. And look how successful that's been.
Minnie and Sasha have been happy, that's true.
I don't think we could stand in George's way if he really wanted it, could we?
No.
And May's such a dear, sensible creature. Think what an excellent wife she'd make him.
Stop it, Bertie. You are rushing me, and I won't be rushed. After all, we don't know yet that Georgie even wants to marry her.
Don't we?